Annie Jameson, one of 4 daughters of Andrew Jameson, a scion of the famous distillery dynasty, was born in 1843 at Daphne Castle outside Enniscorthy in County Wexford. In the early 1860s, Annie travelled to Bologna to study at the Accademia Musicale, where she met widower Giuseppe Marconi. Age, Giuseppe was 17 years older than Annie. Religion and nationality separated the two, who nevertheless persisted with their relationship and married far from their disapproving families in Boulogne-sur-Mer on the 16th of April 1864. The Marconis had 2 sons, Alfonso, born in 1865, and the future radio pioneer Guglielmo, born in April 1874. Annie returned for long spells to the British Isles with her 2 sons, leaving Giuseppe behind at the family home at Villa Grifone in the hills outside Bologna. Annie, a staunch Protestant, partially justified her absences from Il Bel Paese on religious grounds, telling her husband in one letter that she will only return to Italy if he agrees that he will, quote, never send the child to college without my consent, not have him educated by priests, and allow me always to survey his religion. In the event, Guglielmo did not attend a conventional school until he was 12 years of age. In early 1896, when Guglielmo was not yet 22, he and his mother, Annie, left Bologna for London, where they registered Guglielmo's radiotelegraphy patent. She also ensured that the Jamesons and their establishment friends stumped up cash for Guglielmo's venture, the Marconi Wireless and Signal Company. Annie was quite the Italian-style mamone, mollycoddling Guglielmo when he was well into adulthood. Quote, after you left this morning, I found you had not taken your rug with you, she writes in 1901. I sent it to you at 3 o'clock today and hope you will get it all right by tomorrow. I hope you have plenty of blankets on your bed. If not, make them put them on. In March 1904, Giuseppe Marconi died in Bologna, after which Annie spent her remaining 16 years mostly in London. That same year, Beatrice O'Brien first popped up in Guglielmo's life. Anglican and with none of the intellectual pretensions of Marconi's previous love interests, Beatrice was far more unequivocally to Annie Jameson's liking as a fiancée for her son. Along with her nationality, Beatrice was of impeccable breeding, her deceased father being Lord Inchiquin O'Brien, a direct descendant of Brian Boru, the owner of Dromoland Castle. Beatrice had been brought up at the castle, while her father, the 14th Lord Inchiquin, resided in London and consistently opposed Home Rule for Ireland as a member of the House of Lords. When Lord Inchiquin died in 1900, Beatrice's mother moved to London, where she tried to earn some income as a gossip columnist and helped Beatrice search for a husband among the upper classes. Beatrice and Guglielmo married at St George's Anglican Church on Hanover Square, London, on the 16th of March 1905, the event considered important enough to make the front page of the Daily Mail. The couple honeymooned at Dromoland Castle, but after about a week, Guglielmo had to return to London for urgent business. Indeed, Guglielmo Marconi's constant travelling, often to inhospitable places, with Beatrice in tow, was to be a defining characteristic of the years ahead. Guglielmo, a workaholic, increasingly neglected his wife, spending much of his time and energy at his experimental radio stations in Cornwall and Clifton in County Galway. He was a difficult character even when he was present. While Beatrice was described by daughter Dania as, quote, a born flirt, incapable of suppressing her flashing smile at every male who came near her, the great radio pioneer was jealous and tyrannical. After Beatrice had gone out for a short walk in London, her new husband ordered that, quote, henceforth she was to tell him before she left exactly how long she would be gone and street by street where she planned to go. In 1910, Beatrice moved to the Marconi domain at Villa Grifone to ensure her 3rd child, Giulio, was born on Italian soil. But they essentially resided in England, moving to a 17th century manor house called Eaglehurst near Southampton the following year. In April 1912, the couple were invited to travel on board the Titanic for its inaugural Atlantic crossing. Fortunately, the invitation was declined, Guglielmo departing a few days earlier on the Lusitania, another ship destined for a tragic end. In 1915, Beatrice, her children, and possibly Irish opera singer Margaret Burke Sheridan set off from London to Rome to join Guglielmo, who had been appointed as an influencer by the Italian government. In the years after World War I, Beatrice was often left in Italy, while Guglielmo, an increasingly irascible character, subject to frequent mood swings, was away on business in London, where he lived a high life at the Savoy Hotel. Ever jealous and suspicious, Guglielmo employed a detective to keep track of Beatrice's movements while he was away. Guglielmo obviously had other things on his mind when his mother, Annie, died in June 1920, so he did not attend her funeral or her burial in Highgate Cemetery beside her other son, Alfonso. Beatrice grew ever more unhappy with Guglielmo's woman-filled absences. Her frustration finally boiled over in the late summer of 1921, by which time she had her own suitor, Liborio Marignoli, Marquis of Montecorona. Guglielmo and Beatrice still managed to cross the Atlantic together in the spring of 1922. Disappointed that their ship did not pick up radio signals from Britain on their way back to Europe, Guglielmo later found out that the transmission station in Clifton had just been set alight by anti-treaty forces in the Irish Civil War. The Marconi company later unsuccessfully sought compensation from the new Free State government. Despite Guglielmo's attempts to stymie their relationship, Beatrice grew progressively closer to the Marquis de Montecorona and asked Guglielmo for a formal separation. This brought him to the Regency of Carnaro, set up by the Italian poet and war hero Gabriele D'Annunzio and a bunch of proto-fascist and anarchic war veterans in the Dalmatian town of Fiume, now called Rijeka, on the Adriatic coast after the fall of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Since the Regency of Carnaro had codified liberal divorce laws, whereas divorce was banned in Italy proper, Guglielmo and Beatrice joined the throng of Italians beating a path to Fiume. Having formally taken out citizenship of the city-state, Bea and Guglielmo legally dissolved their marriage on the 12th of February 1924. In 1925, Guglielmo met Maria Cristina Bezziscali. Maria Cristina's father belonged to the so-called black nobility, but had stayed loyal to the Pope after Rome was taken over by the Italian state and the Pope combined to the Vatican. The only way he could accept his daughter marrying a divorced Protestant was if the Holy Apostolic Church annulled Marconi's previous marriage to Beatrice. After some scrutiny and much hypocrisy, the annulment was accorded on the 27th of April 1927, paving the way for Guglielmo to marry Bezziscali a few weeks later. On her wedding day, the bride wore a head covering of Irish lace that had belonged to Annie Jameson, held in place by a diadem of precious stones. By this time, Beatrice had gone to live with the Marchese Marignoli at the Villa Redenta outside Spoleto, while the two wedded in the Marignoli-owned Villa Emma overlooking the Bay of Naples. Guglielmo Marconi became an ardent supporter of Italy's fascist regime and felt slighted when the BBC refused to allow him to give a talk in defence of Italy's invasion of Abyssinia. Beatrice never saw her ex-husband after 1928. But when Guglielmo died in Rome in July 1937, Beatrice went to his funeral, lost among the crowd. She considerably outlived her second husband, dying in Rome in 1976 at the age of 94.